Hi, welcome. Today's video has two parts. The first is a book tag that I've made up because I thought one like it existed and it doesn't. And the second is a 2024 reading challenge. Excuse the way the lighting keeps changing, it's super overcast and inconsistent. But let's get started with the start of year book tag. I was so sure that there already was a start of year book tag, but I looked and couldn't find one, so I made one. I'm not going to tag anyone, but if you're interested in giving it a go for it, whether that is in the comments or your own video, do it. It's a bit of fun. The first question is, how many books would you like to read this year? I personally have the same goal every year. Sometimes I reach it, sometimes I don't, but it feels achievable for me, and that is 50 books a year. When I was in high school, I'd read about 40 books comfortably and then stretch to try and get to 45. But at my current point in life, I feel like 50 is doable. It comes out to less than one a week, and especially with audiobooks, I can do that. I do have a few ambitious goals this year. I'd like to read more than 50 books, but I also want to take in the books that I'm reading a little better. I feel like I fell into this cycle this year of just trying to read as much as I could and not actually paying attention to anything I read. So the goal is to read and comprehend 50 books. The second question is, what genre would you like to try this year? I feel like we all have those genres that we shy away from but would really love to try. For me, that is high fantasy. I have read the odd high fantasy here and there, but I really want to read like an epic fantasy series. I haven't picked one out. It feels really scary to even think about, but that is the goal. If it counts as its own genre, I'd also like to try to get into classics. I say this constantly. For years, I've been trying to just read a classic, and I started one and got like 2 chapters in and then put it down. But I would, in 2024, really like to read a few classics to understand the appeal of classical literature, because right now I don't get it, but I want to. The third question is, what are your most anticipated reads? I, at first, really struggled with finding an answer for this question because I'm super out of the loop when it comes to new releases, but I did remember a couple. First up is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I really enjoy Leigh Bardugo's work. I have at this point only read the Grishaverse, but Ninth House has been on many of my TBRs and I am determined to get to it soon. And a new book from an author that I really love is always exciting. Similarly, Casey McQuiston has a new book coming out at some point. I'm assuming it's coming out in 2024. It's called The Pairing. There's not much information about it right now, but I'm super excited. Every Casey McQuiston book has been good, like has been excellent. So I have high hopes for this new one. Question number 4 is, what is your reading theme or vibe? This is quite an open-ended question. Your theme, your vibe could be anything. I'm personally recycling a theme from 2023, and that is embrace your earnestness. I'm a big fan of the idea that cringe is dead and nothing is cringe, cringe doesn't exist. You're allowed to be excited about things, and being super excited is a really joyous thing. So for 2024, in terms of reading, I want to get excited, I want to share my excitement, and I don't want to be embarrassed about it. In terms of a vibe though, I do want to lean further into the dark academia thing. I love dark academia, I always have, and I want to lean into it. I'm reading dark academia books, but I also want to not be dark academia, but you know, read the classics. Think critically about the books I'm reading, etc. Also, like, the aesthetics of it are so good. And the last question is, do you have any other reading goals for 2024? And I definitely have a few. Firstly, I would like to read every day. I will either read for hours straight and not think of anything, or I won't read for like a number of weeks. I just want to be like a little more consistent. And there was a time in my life where I would go to bed a little bit earlier and read for half an hour, and I loved it, and I think it was really good for me, especially like with my mental health. It was just very calming, it was meditative, and I want that in my life again. So the goal for me is to read every day, whether that ends up being at night or in the morning. I do want to start not going on my phone for an hour every morning, so maybe I can replace that with reading, but we'll see. My next goal is to take notes while I read. Not necessarily to like annotate my books, because I really struggle to ever mark up my actual books. It feels wrong. I want to be that person, but I'm not. But I want to take notes while I read so that I can actually review the books I read, so that in my wrap-ups I can say more than I enjoyed it, it was good. You know, I want to be able to discuss the books that I'm reading. And my last goal is one that, yikes. I'm nervous about. You see, book reading and book buying are separate hobbies, and I tend to spend a lot more time doing the buying than the reading. And especially when I do read, it's often audiobooks or ebooks, and so my physical TBR is out of control. I counted a little bit ago, I think I have 80 books that I haven't read, which is not good. So I want to have a 2 out, 1 in policy. And by that, I just mean that I have to read 2 physical books before I can buy one. So hopefully by the end of the year, my TBR will be smaller. When I say read too, that means physically reading the book, but it also could mean borrowing the ebook or the audiobook from the library if it's a physical book I already own. I think that like there are a lot of times where I want to read a book, but I just can't get myself to sit down. I either don't have the time or my attention is elsewhere. And so if the library has the audiobook, there is no harm in just using that. And I will count it to my 2 physical books read. The goal at the end of the day is to have a smaller TBR. It counts. So those are the questions for the start of the year book tag. I hope you like them. Please do them. I think it's a lot of fun to see other people's answers. But now we're going to move straight along to my 2024 reading challenge. Now these were going to be prompts for me only, and then I thought, why not just make it something everyone else can do? And I made a bingo card template. You can either use it to try and get bingo, or you can do what I'm doing and try and achieve every challenge. But let's begin. The first challenge is to try a genre you never read. And again, genre can mean anything. It can mean reading an adult book if you only read YA. It can mean reading a classic. It can mean reading sci-fi. Whatever you want, whatever you count a genre as can be a genre. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I mentioned high fantasy and classics before, but sci-fi is something that I have tried at some point, but I would like to understand a little better. But yes, only time will tell what I choose. The second challenge is one that can't actually be completed till the end of the year, but it is to read more of your physical TBR than books you buy. Basically that 2 out, 1 in goal. To reword it, it is basically end of the year with a smaller physical TBR. Challenge number 3 is probably my favorite, and it is simply to read out in nature. And out in nature can mean anything. Whether you live somewhere regional and that means just like going and standing outside in nature, or if you live in a metropolitan area, go to a local park. For me, it'll probably be my backyard or a local park, or there is kind of like a state park thing that I might try and go to. It's a lovely spot, and I think sitting there with a book might be wonderful. Challenge number 4 is to annotate a book. This is something I find really scary. I don't know why. I have bought copies of books, like duplicates, with the purpose of annotating, and it still feels wrong. But this is the year that I finally do it. Challenge number 5 is basically there just to justify something that I really want to do, and that is read a book in a day. I used to do this all the time when I had less responsibilities, but to sit down and read a book from start to finish is just such a lovely feeling. Now, by read a book in a day, you can interpret that how you want. That could mean 24 hours. Maybe you're going to start it at night, finish it in the morning, or that can mean dawn till dusk, read it in the day. Whatever it means for you, read a book. Challenge number 6 is to read a classic. Again, this is something I've wanted to do for a very long time and I keep putting off, and I have to do it. I started The Picture of Dorian Gray a few months ago and I really enjoyed the first 2 chapters, but I started reading it out loud and now I feel like I have to finish it reading it out loud. And like, I don't feel like reading out loud. Challenge number 7 is an exciting one, and that is to buddy read a book. I remember hearing people talk about buddy reading all the time, and I always really wanted to give it a go, but I didn't really have any friends who read or read the same things as me. But I feel like now I kind of do, and more than that, I feel like there are people on the internet that will read the books I want to read, and we can just kind of start a community kind of thing of reading the same book at the same time. And the 8th challenge is to write a book review. I feel like when I do my wrap-ups and things, I basically just say, it was a good book, or I didn't like that book. I want to actually have notes, structure a review, have something to say. So that is my 2024 reading challenge. Here is a graphic. If you'd like to see it a little bit clearer, it'll be on my Instagram, which is linked below. But that's all for today. If you do the start of year book tag, let me know. I'd love to see it. If you're going to do my 2024 reading challenge, also let me know. Let's cheer each other on. But that's all from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe. I upload twice a week, and I will see you next time. Bye.